All right, welcome everyone. We're going to start these sessions on Purusha Suktam because I think it's going to be very helpful in getting into a deep meditation that is very helpful for most of us. And why is meditation helpful? Because there's a lot of things running through and occupying our minds in today's world. And just as the body needs rest, the mind also needs to rest and reconnect to its source. And you'll find that when you get into these kind of deep meditations, even just for a few seconds, even 5 or 10 seconds of really deep connection, it can sustain you for like a week, in terms of the energy you get back from it. So it has practical benefits besides just the spiritual benefits as well. And it's very effective if you want to deepen whatever spiritual practice you are already doing, whatever religious background you're from, or not, right? You don't have to really believe in anything either. The Purusha Suktam, from a Vedic point of view, in terms of context, is presenting to us a description of the cosmic universal being. And what that means is that it is describing uh, an infinite unity for us to contemplate. And that's a good place to start in describing it. My purpose in this is to decipher that concept and to make it practically useful so you can actually follow some steps in the meditation in using this suktam or chant as a device in getting into that state. Um, we should first start with the Guru mantra, as with all Vedic learning. Guru means that which reveals the light to us, or moves us from darkness to light, rather. So, and that is an indication of the receptivity of knowledge and wisdom is happening within us. So you have that, every creature has that part of themselves that connects them to higher knowledge, that connects them to higher understanding and more connectedness with life in general, more responsiveness to life in general. So we are invoking that with the mantra Om Gurave Nama, which we will do 12 times. So please close your eyes and think about the divine as a teacher and increase your willingness to receive that. Om Gurave Nama. 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 Om Gurave Namah. Om Gurave Namah. All right. So we start with a invocation for peace. Most of these scriptures, the Vedic scriptures like Upanishads, they start with a prayer for peace. And most people think that these prayers for peace must be done after things, which is true, right? We should end things well, but why not also start things well as well? So we are going to follow that tradition and start with this particular prayer for peace. Is the sound okay? I'm getting some messages about sound on my side.
I can hear you perfectly.
I can hear
Okay.
you perfectly as well. But if you could give me 1 minute, I'd like to close this ear of mine with another headphone. Would that be okay? If I just got my other headphone? Yeah, thanks.
Should we mute for the talk?
No?
No. Okay.
Thank you both. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Ready.
Okay. So this prayer says that, and this is just almost a word by word translation. So it's not a perfect translation, but it's just to get the literal meaning across. Of course, in the course of this, we will go into this in detail, the peace prayer, once we are done with the Purusha Suktam, right? And the meaning of it, you'll understand why this particular peace prayer is done before going into the Purusha Suktam. So it says that which gives us whatever, we seek that, right? We are seeking. There's many ways to interpret that first sentence. Furthering, one of the things we are seeking is furthering of the sacrifice. What sacrifice? We will go into that. Development of the performer of the sacrifice. The growth of these things. May the well-being of the gods be our well-being too. The word there is Devi, Deva, which means holder of light, giver of light. Okay, the translation is gods, but technically it means that which is holding knowledge to enlighten our awareness for knowledge in a particular way. May those custodians of knowledge that enlightens us have well-being, and that well-being is also our well-being. May well-being also from us now spread to all humanity. May upward growth and flourishing be with the healing plants. Again, the best plants, the best things of all created things, may those flourish, may those be upward moving, because plants grow, they grow up, right? And so we are invoking in us also that ability to move up and to grow and to flourish by going towards the light. May well-being be unto the two-footed and also the four-footed. We'll come into that also. But generally, that means all creatures. Peace, threefold peace. May there be peace within me, peace outside of me, and everywhere in between. The peace is threefold also in the sense of overcoming three problems. Problems that I have within myself, that are self-created, problems that are because coming to me through other people, and also the environment, and problems that are beyond the environment, which is like cosmic, disasters and things like that. Problems that are way beyond anybody's control. So let there also be peace in these three ways with me. So I'll do the chant. It would be nice if in the practice of these, you also learn it and to do it. And there's a particular intonation with it. right? But you can just listen and think about the meaning, and it's just a well-wishing for peace. Okay? Om Tat Mahe Gatum Yajnaya Gatum Yajnapataye Devi Swastirastu Naha Swastirmanushabhyaha Urdvam Jigatu Beshajam Shanno Astu Dvipade Shanchatushpade Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, then going into the Purusha Suktam. Okay, so I need to move the. If I end the slideshow, do you see the slide still?
Yes, I can see that. Yes,
I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
as a PowerPoint. Yes,
As a PowerPoint.
but now I just now nothing's shown.
Share. So I put it up, and then I need to swap this around. That's why. Okay. Okay, because I was seeing the smaller version. Okay. Right. So Om. Om is too big to get into Om, but Om is just an invocation of the cosmic spirit or Brahman. 1,000 heads has that Purusha, the universal being. 1,000 eyes and 1,000 feet. He has covered over creation from all sides and has even transcended it by 10 fingers. Dasha Angula. So the chant, it goes like Om Sahasrashirasha Purushaha Sahasrakshas Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishvato Bhritva Atyatishthadashangulam. This is verse 1. So here we can, okay, so right, I've got my notes on the screen as well. So the first concept here is there's 1,000 heads as that Purusha, and 1,000 eyes and 1,000 feet. Purusha is a singular noun, Purusha, one singular being, Purusha. It also means masculine, a masculine singular. So from the context of creation, masculine, not about gender, it's about origin, right? The source. There's one source. Everything else is receiving from that. So everything else is feminine in that sense, that it is receiving. So in terms of masculine, there's one masculine, which is the Purusha. From that, everything has been received, everything has emerged. So everything else is feminine. All forms. So one interpretation of this is that all forms, we're only doing the first sentence, right? Today. All forms belong to that one Purusha. So instead of seeing out there in the world multiple things as separate things, so there's different members in my family, at work, outside in the neighborhood, and animals, pets, creatures, instead of seeing all of them as separate things, the first step in the meditation is to see everything as one, to see everything as parts of one, just as you would see somebody's hand and also their leg, and also maybe their arm. You're not going to take each part as separate people. The hand is there, one that belongs to one person. Same with their leg, and same with their arm. These are all different parts of one person. When you think about parts, you don't think about parts of a body as being separate bodies. You think about parts of a person's body as being part of their one body. So that understanding or attitude or vision is being also invoked here, in the sense that different parts, different people, different forms are all to be seen as one form, as part of one form, as all different parts of one consciousness. So that is the idea in the first instance. There's a unity in the apparent diversity. And that is the starting point of getting into this meditation, is to break down all kinds of barriers between you and everything else around you and in creation, and embrace and accept that there's no good and bad and challenging and difficult and struggling and all that. That is there at the level of the mind. When we experience life at that level, it is a truth at that level. But at a higher perspective and an open consciousness level, there's no distinction. Those are all colors, different colors of life. And so that one consciousness is containing and possessing of and covering, encompassing all of these different aspects. So that attitude is the first thing that should be developed. The consequence of this, so that's understanding number one. So when you sit down to meditate, the first thing that should be done is to embrace a unity of consciousness of all beings, including yourself in that. You are also a part of that. So it's also accepting, but also inclusive at the same time. This way of thinking about life overcomes a big problem, which is that we feel we are separate from others, we feel we are different, or we feel we don't belong, we feel we are always seeking a place to settle and to reside in life. We don't have that security of where we are and who we are. But by invoking this attitude, you immediately have that inclusion with everything. It is already there. It's not something you have to make up. And if you say, well, I was created separately, no, you weren't. The food that your mother ate, that food that eventually created your body and gave you your blood, and that resulted in your birth, that food came from so many other people. Just think about the food in your home. You did not make the coffee that's in your cupboard. You did not go and milk the cow that's in your fridge. To make these things, even the clothes on your back, have come from other people, other creatures. So we are all involved in our own creation in that way. We thinking that we are separate. Actually, we employ that device in order to feel like I own this and I own that and this is mine, in order to use them to evolve. But that we should not get caught up in that and get fixated on that as all of life, because then we're going to feel very excluded from everything. And that's the source of loneliness. That's the source of a lot of problems between people. When people start to not pay attention, when people start to not be responsive to one another, even within a household, even within yourself, forget about other people, right? That's the source of depression, is when you're not responsive to your own self. So to overcome all of these aberrations of that way of thinking, while it may be useful for us to be functional in a worldly sense, it also prevents us from being functional in an inner sense. And the goal here is to be functionally connected and included, so that you can then, when you play the role of being a separate individual in society and play those roles and play that game of life, you can do so without the tension and the stress or the negative side effects of that. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes.
Okay. So the first step in the meditation is to invoke and accept and receive and embody that awareness that we are all moving parts of one whole, whatever people want to call that, singular unity consciousness that is including all the relativities that are possible, not just in the present time that you're living in, but even in all lifetimes, in all times, even in the future, because you are you, but your body has changed and your mind has changed from when you were born to when you die. From tomorrow, from yesterday, today, and tomorrow, it's just your body and mind that is changing. But there's a deeper part of you that is constant, and that is the soul. And that soul has that quality because of its connection to Purusha, because of the Purusha that is the whole. That is a quality of the Purusha beyond time and space. In this situation where we are describing Purusha, the Vedas have described that being or that consciousness of wholeness as Purusha. And we are invoking that and embracing that. So a corollary of this is that so that's step number one. Step number two is in this awareness of Purusha as all parts of the same being, what does it then mean for me to desire something? It's like saying my arm is desiring my hand. Nobody has that kind of desire. I have a desire for my eyes. I have a desire for my nose. Why don't you have desires of that nature? Because you've identified the eye and the nose as already a part of yourself. So if the consciousness or the awareness of Purusha as everything as being a part of Purusha, there's nothing to be desired because everything is yourself. You are a part of everything, and everything is equated with each other in the consciousness of this Purusha. So again, I'm not saying desires should be shunned, put away. I'm saying that, again, we get caught up in, I want this and I want that, and this person is bad and that person is not. I want this thing to come to me and I don't want this thing to come to me. I want this thing to go away from me. I'm afraid of this thing going away from me. We have all of that. And again, in the worldly sense, that is a subjective relative truth in our experience. We don't deny it. What we're trying to say is that the intoxication with that and the fixation of ourselves with that brings a lot of that struggle, brings a lot of division in ourselves. Because sometimes if we get too much caught up in that way of living, we forget sight of ourselves. Then we want things and we don't know why. We don't want things and we don't know why. We instinctively don't like things. But sometimes what we want needs to be denied to us for our own good as well. And we think that that's a bad thing happening. So a lot of avoidance of life starts to happen because of wrong use of desire, wrong use of preferences. So here we are saying that as a corollary of invoking the Purusha awareness is that when you go into the meditation as step number two, even the things that you want and don't want, they don't have meaning. They don't have meaning for you, for the real you, right? So it's not to say don't want what you want in the worldly sense, But when you're in the meditation, you're taking a break from all of that. You're giving your real self a chance to be and to connect to that without even the desires running up and down, pushing and pulling in all directions. And by invoking the concept of the Purusha, that total consciousness, that unity consciousness, if everything is a part of the Purusha, and I am a part of the Purusha, and we all identified with each other as one, there is no desire, because desire requires something external. Desire requires a you and others. Desire requires a you and a me. It requires relativity. Without relativity, there's no relationships. Without relativity, there's no relationships. If there are no relationships, there's no karma. Because there's no me and you and us and them. There's no subject and object, right? So in the world of the Purusha, the desires that you bring when you come to the meditation, you have to also offer them up into that awareness. All the good things, all the bad things, the things that you want, things that you don't want, you also have to make yourself free of that. That's step number 2. That's a corollary of that. The other corollary is that here we are talking about, is there any questions about that? Because some people don't like it when I say you have to put your desires aside.
No, I
No.
guess it makes sense to do that, because otherwise, well, in my perspective, if I sit down and that's all I think about is like, oh, and I've got to do this and I need to do that, and oh, wouldn't it be great if this happens and that happens? And I think when
Yeah,
you're trying to meditate, you've got to put that aside so you can just be with you, and the whole you, I think, is what you're saying,
yes, the
and have your
wholeness.
mind and have the mind clear so that all the disturbances of stuff that's annoying you or stuff that you're loving is taken away. So
Yeah, because desire implies a lack exists.
mm,
Desire implies that I don't have, right? But if you are the totality of everything that is created, there's a wholeness all the time. There's a fullness and a satisfaction deep inside in our being, in our terms of existence. My entire existence feels that fullness, is connecting to that fullness and completeness of being. If people desire a lot of things because they're existing in an attitude of lack, and that can, if it runs as a broken record, can lead to a lot of unnecessary problems. So the whole point about yoga is not to abandon desires, but to elevate them and to clarify them and to brighten them so that the desire ability we have can be used better by us as a tool for living. So in this second step, from this first sentence of Purusha, the, the meaning of that is there's a fullness. That unity consciousness is also a fullness because it includes everything. Everything that you could possibly want and don't want, it's all there. So on the one hand, the things that you think you don't have exist in their fullness in Purusha. So connect to that inside, and you have it inside in that fullness. You can experience that. So it's a bit metaphysical, but to say that, yes, I understand you need to have a car, you need to have, I don't know, whatever things that you need, shoe or yeah, material things that people need, right? But that exists first inside. I have a desire to move. Therefore, I need a means of transport. Therefore, a means of transport has been created in the world for me to go and connect to. If inside human beings there was no desire to move, we would not have created implements to help us move. Just as in a similar way, the places that you visit, just give me a second, I'll be right back.
you meditate right now,
Just
Inessa?
as,
Oh, go ahead, Nathan, sorry.
sorry, just as that, you know, somebody visits a sports stadium. The sports stadium already existed inside the person as a desire. I desire XYZ. That feeling is what I want. Therefore, outside in the world, my feet move me in the direction. You keep moving until you are in that place and time where that outside experience matches the inside desire. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I want to feel, I have a desire to feel, and that's how we feel satisfied. So I have a desire for, you know, I have a feeling of a nice meal, a nice, cozy, comforting, I don't know, nice meal, right? Whatever that is. My mind then creates that based upon what it knows from experience in the world. Oh, it tells me, oh, there's a place down the road that has crumpets for breakfast. Okay, now my feet take me to that place. That place exists inside me in as much as it exists outside. In that place, my desire is that I should experience what feeling I had inside as a desire. If I also experiencing it outside of myself, I am satisfied. So if I go to that place and they give me the crumpets and the breakfast and all that, and that feeling of engaging with those things outside of me matches the feeling I had before I got there, that means I'm satisfied. That's the definition of satisfaction in the mind. But if I go to that place and they throw the crumpets on the table and they throw the tea on the table and it spills and all that, what happens to that satisfaction? The satisfaction was never in the thing. The satisfaction comes from the experiencing what I already was feeling inside on the outside. Then I feel satisfied. Then I feel sated. Then I calm down. That desire quells, becomes the heat in it is gone. But then another desire comes, another one comes, right? It never ends, right? So satisfaction is an internal experience. If you say, okay, I really want cheesecake, well, and you think cheesecake is going to make you happy, well, if that be so, logically, then having 10 slices of cheesecake in a row is going to make you even more happy. But the truth is, it doesn't. The satisfaction, the most satisfaction is in that first bite, because the external experience matches the internal desire. After that is just, you know, secondary. So this can happen again and again and again. So what I'm trying to say is that we are constantly looking for a fullness of desires that we are having inside. It is the desire that we are actually eating. It is the desire that we are actually seeing. And when we feel that the external experience satisfies that, we feel satisfied in that moment. And we call it happiness. But it is just a material happiness. And it changes and it goes away. And then we look for the next thing. So we're all looking for that sense of completeness based upon the subset of desires that we are carrying inside us. And that changes over time. In the Purusha understanding and meditation, we are saying connect to that which is already full. All those things that you want are already in their fullness, in that awareness. Connect to that, because that is actually the reality of what you're looking for inside. Find it inside first. Otherwise, you go running across half the world looking for that external experience sometimes. Okay? So it's an idea that you're chasing, or maybe pulling you. Okay? And we want us to be in control of our experience. So that is the part of the desire. The third thing is Are there any questions about that?
No.
Let me check the time. Okay. So now we come to the question about why heads, eyes, and feet. Why is that the first definition of Purusha? Why not? Sanskrit is a beautiful language that could have just said, okay, Purusha is all encompassing everywhere all the time and always full. Why didn't they start with that? So in Sanskrit, we always have to think very closely. In the first word here, besides Om, there's Sahasra. Sahasra means 1,000. Okay. Shirsha means heads. Now you'll see these two sounds, Saha, come up a lot. Saha in Sanskrit, Sa as the sound means creative intelligence. Sa as a sound in Sanskrit has a meaning or connotation. When you study the sounds of Sanskrit, it carries with it a connotation of created intelligence or something being created with intelligence. Sa. The sound ha has to do with outcomes. Ha has to do with outcomes in the sense of I am receiving the best outcomes. So something has been finished and the residual from that process is ha. The residual from that process is ha. And in the highest sense, in this context, the ha is something very good that you're getting as an outcome of a process. The residual of a process is very good. Ha. So that the sound saha together implies start and also end. The beginning is created with very good intelligence, and the end is also producing something very good. From a spiritual point of view, that residual must be knowledge, must be wisdom. So saha is indicating that both in the beginning and at the end, no matter which way you look at it, and therefore implying everywhere in between, there is wisdom. So that is why this Saha has come in the beginning. That is the definition of Purusha. From whether there's no start, there's no end, because there's always wisdom. There's always that intelligence behind everything. Saha also means together with, in conjunction with. It's a unifying word. It indicates coming together. So Saha is also indicating, again, all these parts are joined together. Okay, that's why one of the peace prayers says, Sahana Bhavatu, may we be enjoined in our efforts, right? Saha. So Saha, the first sounds in any prayer is very important in understanding that entire prayer. We could end the session there, right? Because that encapsulates as a seed that when you're thinking Saha, you say Om Saha, you need to be in that awareness that everything is united in knowledge and wisdom. There's no time. There's no experience of time here because everything is the self. If you were just only you, there was nothing else, how would you experience space? You would not be able to experience space. You would not be able to experience time if there was nothing else besides you and it was unchanging. Okay? That is the Purusha experience. This is the sort of context in which these sounds are put together as mantra. Om Sahasra Shirasha Purushaha. So you immediately think about that huge, expansive Purusha. That concept must come to your mind. Okay. Then if you think, okay, now coming to heads and feet and eyes. These are three. All beings are encompassed by these three things symbolically. Head obviously means cognition, awareness, identity. One, there's an identity. heads. 2, the eyes. See, so you are yourself. You have eyes and you have feet. These are the two parts of the self that in this suktam is put forward as most important in all creatures. Symbolically, that means, again, if you think about the eyes, what are the eyes doing? The eyes have two functions. They are receiving signals and they're also projecting. They are receiving signals, the brain is converting it into images, and you are projecting your version of the world out there through the eyes. So the eyes are symbolic of the power of reception and projection, a projection of a subjective reality. You see what you want to see, you see what is already inside you. For example, when you go, let's say you're going shopping, right? And you go into I don't know, a shoe store, right? For want of a better example, I think I've said this example before. And there's 50 shoes on the shelves. What makes you choose one over the other? You will follow maybe a logical process. Well, I need shoes that look like this. I have this color, I have this material, blah, blah, blah. Right. But behind those logical statements, there's also a feeling, there's a set criteria that you're looking for something. You know, sometimes you open the fridge and you don't know what you want, but you want something. Sometimes you go into a store because you want something, but you don't know what it is. That's a sign that you just don't know yourself. And you're looking for the external thing to tell you what you are so you can buy it, so you can hold on to it, right? So there's a feeling inside you that is saying, I want X, Y, and Z. And you go to the store, you're looking for it. Sometimes you don't know that you want X, Y, and Z. You just want something. You go to the store and you look at all the shoes. Suddenly you see a shoe that you like. How did that happen? What makes you pick up one pair of shoe versus the next one? You are recognizing in that object something that is familiar. If something is familiar, it means it's a part of you. It has a resemblance. That's how you recognize it. That's how your eyes pick it up from 50 shoes. Your eyes fall on that and fix on that because it's recognizing something. There's something here that is me, and therefore I want this to be by me, and therefore I purchase it so it is by me. And therefore I'm satisfied with that purchase because, again, the external object is meeting an internal idea or desire. That recognition of the self. So we are constantly using objects to see ourselves, to find ourselves, to recognize ourselves. This happens in the most extreme degree when you're choosing someone to spend your life with. Right? And that's a challenge because that's a changing object, right? It's changing day to day and hour by hour. So that object also makes you cooperate with life, interact with life, connect with life. So what I'm trying to say is the eyes have a power of projection of the self outside. So all creatures have this. We are all seeing the world, the creation, in a certain way that is familiar to us because it is us that we are trying to see. Two people will not look at the same shoe in the same way. Is it the shoe's fault? Did the shoe do anything different? No. What is happening inside those two people is different. And why? Right? So the nature of desire is being looked at in a very deep way here, recognizing that there's identity, there's also subjective projection of their self into the world. That's what the eyes are doing, symbolically. The eye is therefore also symbolically talking about acquisition. I see what is familiar, I recognize what is familiar, what is myself outside, and I want it by me. How do you get attracted to somebody? For good or bad reasons. When you look at somebody, there is something about them that is, you're recognizing a part of you there, something that you want here inside yourself that you've recognized is a lack. It is brought out outside of you. You're recognizing it. You're recognizing a self-similarity. That immediately is an attraction. So you want to bring it towards you. Just like I want the feeling of cheesecake. So I'll go and find a cheesecake and I literally put it inside me. I acquire it so that it becomes a part of me, then I'm satisfied. In a similar way, unfortunately, you can't eat a human being to put them inside you. So you marry them or you join with them physically or whatever to experience that, to experience yourself through that process. Then you're satisfied in that connection. And hopefully you can have it again and again and again in a sustainable manner. So the eyes are also all about acquiring things to yourself, bringing things toward yourself. Now, feet. You'll understand the part about the eyes.
Yes.
So in the meditation, when you come to this part, all the things that I want to acquire, all my subjective projections onto the world that I want the world to provide. I want the world to be like this. I want when I go to this place or to that event, it must be like this and not like that. Why? Because I want to feel okay there. What does that mean? That means I want to be in an environment that is completely familiar and in abeyance to me. That means you want the environment to be saturated with you. That's a major projection, right? So in this meditation, you're letting that go as well. You're offering that up. Sahasra Sirasha. All heads. You're recognizing, hey, it's not just your little head that wants things in a certain way. It's not all your eyes that want things in a certain way. There are thousands. In this consciousness of Purusha, there are countless projections that every being is searching fulfillment for. And therefore, if everything has one unity, you're searching yourself. We're all searching each other. Okay, so to feel that love, to feel that connection, that will stop the fire in your eyes from burning you inside. It will calm down. Then come to the feet. The feet, again, are about motion, movement. That implies that I am not happy where I am. If you were self-sufficient where you are, there would be no desire whatsoever to go anywhere. If everything you needed was already at hand, if everything you wanted to feel satisfied fully was already where you are, there would be no reason for movement of any kind. Again, in the Purusha consciousness of fulfillment, wholeness, there's a stillness. There's no more movement required because you don't need to go anywhere to get anything, to be something, to acquire. You don't need that anymore. It is completely self-contained and self-fulfilled. So all this movement is happening, but in the Purusha consciousness that encompasses all of that movement, there is satisfaction, there is stillness. So in amongst all this movement is happening in the universe, in creation, there is also a stillness behind all of it. Does that make sense? So when you connect to that Purusha awareness of that fullness, there's also no need to be restless inside. The mind doesn't need to move anywhere. If the mind doesn't need to move anywhere, thoughts are not going to move you and shake you and push you or pull you. You are also getting freedom from the push and pull of emotions, the push and pull of physical movement, the push and pull of thoughts. You maybe won't have all these experiences when you first start the meditation, but it's indicating to you that this is where things can go in this meditation, this process that is now going to be described. So feet also, again, in another sense, are things that are moving away from us. Feet, things are moving away. We are in place A and we're moving to place B. Things are moving away from A. Things are moving away from us. So the feet have this connotation of things going away. So the eyes have the connotation of things coming to us. We want this, I want that. It is who I am. I recognize it as myself. Therefore, I want it by me, close to me, in me, unchanging, right? That's why we buy new shoes, because the one we bought has changed from what it was in the beginning. So we buy a new one. You can't do that if you're married, right? You buy a new husband or you buy a new wife, right? But that's what happens inside people because there's no satisfaction inside. The fullness inside is lacking. That awareness needs to come in because then everywhere you go, you will not feel like you're running after something. That feet is not running. The feeling is not being hijacked by anything outside, any person, any object. You are already fulfilled inside. Then you can really look at the world as it is. Then the eyes also calm down and they're not becoming extremely acquisitive. I need to have this so I can be happy. I must have that now, and I must have this in a certain way, right? You can have those things, you can want those things, but do not be caught up in that process. That's the point. I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm saying those things are bad in as much as you get caught up in it and derailed by them, right? So that's the understanding with the feet. So all creatures have identity. They have a process in their consciousness that acquires things towards them, and they have a process in their consciousness that tells them, I don't have things by me, I need to go find it. But by meditating with the Purusha, all these three things get resolved into one identity, one head, and then you move that into that concept of infinite unity. Infinity, but singular in its infinity. Am I making sense? Or is it too much?
No, making sense.
You're making sense.
Okay, so far in the meditation, what you're doing is you are embracing the concept of being a part of a moving whole, of a self-sufficient wholeness, of a self-satisfied wholeness and completeness. There's no difference between you and others and anything else in creation. Then my sense of identity, let me identify with that infinite identity. Let me not, I don't need to acquire anything, and nothing is being lost from me or taken away from me either. I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to feel a sense of lack with anything. I'm fully connected to myself. I'm fully connected to all as myself and each other. And trying to keep yourself with the attitude as long as possible in the heart, not in the head. When you focus in this way with your eyes closed, gently focus on the heart. Not the physical heart, I mean the middle of the chest, right? There. So that is and I had some text here that go into more detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but I'm not going to go into that. So that's what I would end for today. Just this first line. I'm not going to go into the 10 fingers and all that. But see, each part of this is a process in the meditation. So if you just see, you don't have to repeat the words, but they will help. The words are meant to trigger in you that feeling, that process of what to do. So whenever you hear Saha, you know that it is unity, consciousness, or wisdom. Start beginning, no matter where in between I am. I don't know where the hell I am in my life. I'm at the start of something. I'm at the end of something. I'm somewhere in between. Who knows? It doesn't matter. There's wisdom in it all the time. And I'm receiving wisdom. I'm open to receiving that wisdom. That is the attitude to have. Then I am connecting to all life as myself. We are all parts of one awareness. And that implies I need to accept everything, everything in its total, good, bad, ugly, nice, good, not nice, difficult, everything I need to accept because I'm elevating for a few moments in this meditation. Let me elevate myself out of this black and white thing where there's only light and I accept 100% everything as it is right now in my life. And I am a part of this movement, this cosmic movement, and I belong to that. I'm included in that. I'm connected in that. My identity is no longer, I was this person, I'm that mother, brother, friend. I am all these things. I have been all these things. I will be all these things. There's no one head, there's all heads. I am all of that. All things that I have ever acquired, that I want still towards me, I have already in fulfillment in this connectedness. And there's no need for movement because there's no awareness of lack. I have everything. I'm self-sufficient when I'm connected in this way to life. That is elevating your awareness into that consciousness that is higher, that is out of this black and white way of living and suffering and enjoying up and down, or you get out of that volatility. So that's the first step in this, using Purusha Suktam as guided meditation. The first line. And then next time we will do the next sentence. Is that fine? We can
Yes.
end it there.
Yes,
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 no
absolutely.
problem. Let us actually just do the Shanti mantra. Om Tat Sat Mahe Gatum Yajnaya Gatum Yajnapataye Devi Swastirastu Naha Swastirmanushabhyaha Urdhvam Jigatu Beshajam Sanno Astu Dvipade Chatushpade Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om